make some changes to your DPI, and better yet, make some presets so that you don't have to. Makes it a little bit easier to do stuff. So I'm working in Windows 10, which is probably a lot different than what you may have. Maybe you have Windows 10. I don't know. But let's just go ahead to go to Photoshop. I have CS3. I believe that you have CS2 on my old license, unless you've redone it or whatever, which is totally cool. Although now they're on a pay-as-you-go system, which really sucks. You got to pay every month. So because it's cloud-based. So we got Photoshop open here. So this is what you should be doing. It'll make things a lot easier, which is making presets. And so to make a preset, you're going to go to File, New, and this screen will come up right here. And the thing you have to remember with this screen is it's going to kind of save whatever your last preset was that you had open when you shut Photoshop. So if there's something that you like, let's say that it's 72 DPI, so this is where that setting is at right here. So if 72 is what you generally work in, and you're working in RGB, which would be computer colors, and CYMK would be print colors. So I generally you don't want to work in CYMK unless this is something that you're going to print at a printer. So if it's going to be on the computer, well, then that's what you want. Now, this 8-bit, I wouldn't worry about that. If you're going to be printing or you have something super high resolution, then 32-bit and 16-bit is kind of where you want to go. But for printing, CYMK and 32-bit resolution is what you're going to want if you're printing. If you're working on what I do, which is mostly computer stuff, then 72 DPI and RGB is what you want. So this background content right here, I'll show you what that is. So you've got white, and you've got a background color, which you could choose. White will give you a white background, and then transparent. I always work in transparent because I need alpha shading and stuff like that for a website. So let's say I'm working on a black background on a website. If I put white as a background, then everything that I do is going to have this white background that I have to try and get rid of when I put it on black. So if you've ever been to a website where they've got a picture of a logo and it's got a white thing around it, it's because they didn't know how to do this. So, or somebody didn't know how to do it. To give you an example of what this will look like, if I hit OK and go, this pink and white check that you see here, this is signifying that it's a transparent background. So if I close this out really quick and open this back up, open a new one, and I go to white background, we got a white background. So that is really nothing to do with anything here, other than if that's been a problem for you, that's how you change it. So how to do a preset. Let's change this back to transparent. So how do you do a preset? Cat is gone crazy here. Hold on. God. Okay. Sorry about that. Cat just decided to jump on my shoulder. A preset. So the presets are right here. You can see that I have a bunch of my own presets in here, and then you've also got default, and you've got stuff that this is stuff that Adobe puts in here. So what we're going to do is create our own. So let's change this to 500 by 500. And let's name this my 72 underscore, and let's do 500, just so we can identify what the size is. So this 500 by 500 is the size of whatever you're going to bring out, 500 pixels, 500 inches, whatever it may be, centimeters, whatever you want it to be. Now, the way Photoshop does this is really goofy. So we're going to go ahead and highlight that. So that's a left click, and then we're going to right click on it. We're going to copy it, and then we're going to hit Save Preset. When we do that, it's going to bring up what it wants to call it, which is 500 by 500 to help you identify it. We don't want that. We're going to left click and highlight it. It already comes up highlighted. We're going to right click, and we're going to hit paste. When we hit paste, it's going to put in here my 72 500 by 500. We're going to go ahead and hit OK. Once we hit OK, you should be able to bring up, you can see that we've got now my 72 500 by 500. So let's go ahead and cancel that, and let's make a different preset. And let's do 300 DPI, and let's do 1000 by 1000. And then we're going to call this my 300 by 1000. Actually, let's do 1K to keep it short by 1K. Okay. Yeah, that's actually more confusing, isn't it? So let's do 1,000. 1,000. Okay. So we're going to left click, sweep it, right click, copy that. We're going to hit save preset. As you can see now, let's change that to 1,000 by 1,000. It's trying to help you out. Leave all this stuff checked. That's what you want. We're going to go ahead and right click on that again, and we're going to hit paste. And now we've got my 300 1,000 by 1,000. We're going to hit OK. And now we have the 300 and the 72. So let's hit cancel. And let's go back, and we're going to go new. So let's say right now you want to be working on a 300 DPI. So we're going to go 300 DPI. It's going to change it to 1,000 by 1,000. Now you can see that this is unpopulated. This is where you would put if you want to name a file something. So let's put Dad's Harley. Okay, so it's going to bring this up. Now you can see up here we got Dad's Harley, and we've got layer 100% layer 1 RGB. Tells us we're in computer ease color mode. You can see up here we're at 1,000, and we're at 1,000 here for the size of the picture. So let's go ahead and close that. Let me show you something else. So let's go to new again. And now we're in my 300, but let's say we're going to do 72. So we go down to 72. But let's say we don't want this 500 by 500. We want it 1,000 by 1,000. We'll go ahead and hit OK. We'll name this, just name it whatever, right? So we've changed that, but that's not going to change the preset. The preset's always going to be there. So if we come back and hit the preset again, boom, there it is at 500. So let's change that to 1,000. Let's hit OK. Now you see we've got a 1,000 only by 500, and we're at, this is our goofy name, and it doesn't tell you what resolution you're at, but it does tell you it's RGB, and we're 1,000 by 500. So let's close that again, and you'll see that if we come back in here and go new, our settings that we just had, it kept them, but it didn't save it as the preset. So if we go to the preset again, it adjusts it back down to 500. So if you want to set a preset where you're always working in a certain size screen or whatever, this is where you would do it. And this is where you'd change this as well. So let's now open a picture. And we want to make this the 300 DPI. Actually, let's make it 72 DPI just to kind of show what happens here. Dad's Harley, which is actually going to be my Harley. And let's change this to 1,000. By 1,000, we're at 72 DPI. Let's go ahead and open this up. So there we got that. Now we're going to open the picture. And this is where things might get a little confusing if they're not already. So we're going to bring in, let's see, I actually going to delete this right here because I mess up the ball game. We've got JPEG, and this is Camera Raw, which I talk about in the email. So Camera Raw, I'll cover that here in a few minutes if I have time on the recording. So we're going to open this JPEG, right? We can see that it's 2.84 megabytes. Pretty big file. Now, we want to import this over to that other deal, right? Because we want it to be 72 DPI. So did you see what I just did there? So I go to the minimize panel, and now I have both of them up. So what I'm going to do is we're going to select, this is your move icon, and we're just going to grab this guy and bring it right over here. So now we have it up here, and now we have it here. So what we're going to do is maximize this again, and you can see that we can move this picture around. Right? So what we want to do is find the corner, and this is getting a little advanced here. So we have this picture. We're going to find the corner. We're going to go up here to edit real quick. We're going to go to free transform. We're going to grab this corner caret right here, this little square, and we're going to hold shift, and we're going to shrink it. And then we're going to bring it back, and we're going to grab shift again, and we're going to shrink it down with the mouse. And we're going to grab it, and we're going to hit shrink again. We're doing this. We're just trying to get the whole photo to fit inside this deal right here, right? So let's, I don't want to get too into too advanced of, I'm just trying to show you something here real quick. So we'll just leave that. Yeah, it's got a bunch of extra stuff on it. We can go up to a thing called trim and trim this down. It would just be the exact size of that. Let's go ahead and, now you can see this is Dad's Harley saved here again. So let's go ahead and hit Save As. We want to apply the changes. And as he said, it's already coming up as a PSD, which is the native Adobe file format, which is something you might want to keep it in because you can go in and readjust it, sort of. Once we shrink this down and save it, we won't be able to blow it back up because we're going to change the dots per square inch down to 72. So we could save it as a JPEG. So let's go ahead and save it as a JPEG. And let's save that. Yep, maximum. So those white borders pop up. So now let's go back and let's go to open. And there's Dad's Harley right there. And you can see that we're 305 kilobytes versus 2.84 megabytes. So you see how much smaller that is. We got the white borders around it and whatever. Adobe's going to always fill in. If you don't crop and trim your stuff, it's going to fill it in with a white border there. I just did that to kind of show you. You know, this picture right now is 72 dpi. It's tiny, 305 kilobytes. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. So let's go ahead and close this. No, we don't want to save any changes. We're going to go ahead and close this as well. So now let's go into, instead of, I want to show you what Camera Raw is, because if your camera will take Camera Raw photos, you should be taking Camera Raw photos. And then you should get, there's a little plug-in that you can get from Adobe that allows Photoshop to process Camera Raw pictures. What is Camera Raw? So Camera Raw, we're just going to open it up, and we're back in here, and we're going to open this CR2. This is the native format for a Canon camera. We're going to open that, and you can see that it brings in another screen. And let me bring all this stuff in here. What Camera Raw is all the pixels. If this was a blown out picture, so if this picture looked like that, so we had a blown out picture, what Camera Raw allows you to do is make, Camera Raw is the file with all the pixels unlocked. So your camera is always going to take a picture of everything there. It's whether you know how to use the shutter or not, whether the picture works or it comes out good. So the camera's still capturing the greens. So if you took this picture and it was blown out like this and then you saved it as a JPEG, it's going to look like this until forever. But if you took it in Camera Raw and this is the way the picture came through, you have these settings over here where you can come in and you can make it so that it's really muddy, almost like you had the shutter set at such a high speed that none of the light came through. Or you took it at the evening. So this is really great when it comes to like a nighttime shoot or something like that, and you get a picture that looks like this. If you're in Camera Raw, you can come in, the pixels are still there, the colors are still there, the camera sees them, and you can make adjustments, and you can get it to where it needs to be. And you can do all kinds of great stuff that the camera can actually do itself, but you can adjust colors, so you can make it look like it's the summertime. You can make it look like it's the fall. Just by playing with temperatures. There's custom sets in the temperatures, but you have exposure, you have your recovery. So recovery kind of, and the best way to do this is you take and you zoom in on something that's that you really want to, you know, like this high vis. So this yellow is called high vis yellow. I mean, really what it looks like is it kind of glows in the dark, right? So we can adjust the fill light. We can adjust the brightness, the contrast. So the way that I was kind of taught with my online teaching myself stuff, you can adjust the vibrance, you know, a little bit, is that this color wheel up here, your whatever this is called, you probably know what it's called, I don't. You basically want, there should be a spike, and you want all of your colors kind of together. This is kind of a bad, let's click out of here. I want to zoom out. I want to go to 100%. So let's go to 100%. See the whole picture. Let's see if we can go to 66%. The goal is just to see how we got our blue shift over and our red shifted over. You want everything in the middle of the page, and you want it all kind of like in one glob. That's the way the experts say to do it. This color, these temperature and hues, you don't really want to mess with a whole lot. Let's try a different picture here. Let's see if we can get one a little bit better. Let's open Camera Raw. Here's a Camera Raw. This is looking up the street. So we have a bunch of trees and everything else. Here's your typical deal where we start moving this around and see how our colors shift. The way that I kind of learned to do this online is when you get those lined up, that's where the color should be. But let's say it was a little greener that day or whatever. You can play with the tints. The important thing to remember with this right here is that you're not manipulating you're manipulating the pixels, but the pixels are all there. They always were there. It's just in this format you can actually mess with them, and in no other format can you do this. Nikon's got a different, it's not the same, it's not called Camera Raw, it's something else. Canon is called Camera Raw, and so any photographer that's worth their salt, which is not me, but every picture they take one JPEG and one Camera Raw. So if you go back and look at my pictures, I have my camera set up to always take a JPEG and a Camera Raw. So there's two pictures of everything, and if you look at the JPEG versus the Camera Raw, there is a difference. Let me see, you can't see that. Let's shrink this down. Got it in the screen here. You can see this is a little bit more, I don't know, denatured a little bit. This is a little brighter. Dad's face is a little redder. This is, I guess, a little muted versus this right here. This is a little brighter. Now, Camera Raw files are huge. So, as far as, what's there, because they have all the pixels. So, you can see that these colors on the bike are a little bit sharper and a little clearer. Not so yellowed out. And then if you want them to look like that, well, you could go to temperature or exposure, maybe darken it down a little bit. Maybe the temperature is that's a little closer to what we have there. This one is a little less, the clarity's a little down. So we could get that. This is smaller, so it's harder to see, but you could really get those two to look exactly the same. Although the reality is this is what was actually captured through the camera, and this has been changed because it's a JPEG. Now the JPEG, real quick here because I'm running out of time, the JPEG, you have very limited options to change anything. So you've got your filters here. Yeah, you can do artistic, you can make it black or white or whatever you want to do. You can sharpen it, sort of, sharpen the edges. It doesn't do a whole lot. It's one click and that's all you got. So anyway, hopefully that's really helpful. I will send you this YouTube video as soon as I get done producing it. Talk to you later. Bye.